Nearly 1,000 silent days, Ranger sat in the back corner of his kennel like a ghost no one remembered. Dogs around him came and went. Excited barks, adoption papers, families cheering. But Ranger stayed. Forgotten, overlooked, invisible. And yet he never stopped waiting. Every time someone walked past, he lifted his head just a little as if whispering, "Could it be me today?" Most people didn't notice. But one volunteer did. Her name was Mara, and she had been volunteering at the Austin Regional Animal Shelter for years. She knew every dog's story, except Ranger's. He never begged for attention, never barked. He simply watched her with quiet, aching hope. One Friday afternoon, something inside her snapped. Maybe it was the way he pressed his forehead against the bars. Maybe it was the way his tail thumped once, just once, when he saw her. But she realized, walking past him wasn't enough anymore. That weekend she brought him home. At first, Ranger didn't understand freedom. The smell of fresh grass. Wind brushing against his ears. The distant chatter of neighbors. Even stepping onto the porch felt like crossing into another universe. During their walk, he stayed glued to Mara's leg, leaning on her like he needed her to stay upright. When they got home, he curled beside her on the couch and rested his head on her lap as though afraid she would disappear if he blinked. He didn't care about toys or treats. He cared about belonging. Over the next few weekends, Ranger began to soften. He learned where the warm patch of sunlight hit the living room rug. He discovered he loved rolling in the grass until his fur turned green. And he made friends with Mara's dog, Ivy, a goofy, gentle soul who treated him like an older brother. But then came the first night. When Mara opened the back door to let him outside, Ranger froze. Completely still. Eyes wide. Body shaking. Only then did Mara understand. He hadn't seen the world after dark in years. Shelters closed before nightfall. Ranger had forgotten what nighttime even looked like. She knelt beside him whispering, "It's okay. I'm right here." Little by little he stepped into the shadows. And he trusted her enough to keep going. Ranger hadn't always lived behind concrete walls. Years earlier he'd been taken by animal control after nipping a neighbor during a panic moment. He and his sister had roamed a yard with no fence, no structure, no guidance. Survival was all they knew. One brief mistake changed the entire trajectory of his life. But at the shelter he never harmed anyone. Staff described him as a dog who needed boundaries, patience, and someone willing to look past his fear. Over time, everyone quietly rooted for him. He became the dog people visited on their lunch break. The dog who pressed his paws on the floor in his awkward little, happy dance. On those weekend visits with Mara, Ranger transformed. He wasn't a shelter case file. He wasn't a behavior note. He wasn't the dog who waited too long. He was just a dog. A dog learning how to breathe again. Every Sunday, returning him shattered Mara a little more. Ranger always looked back, eyes pleading as if asking, "Why can't I stay? What did I do wrong?" But she reminded herself. These weekends were healing him, giving him courage, preparing him for the family he deserved. And when his day finally came, Mara believed Ranger would love them with every piece of his rebuilt heart, because he knew the weight of being forgotten and the miracle of being chosen again. If Ranger's story touched you, like, share, and subscribe to help more dogs find the second chance they're waiting for. When you welcome a rescue dog into your home, you don't just save them, you teach them that love can return. Be patient, be gentle, and you'll heal together. Can a dog truly heal a baby's heart? Or can a child's smile change a dog's world? This story began in a home where love needed no words. Chris was a dog with golden fur that shone brightly, always carrying a spark of curiosity in his eyes. Every morning he would hear tiny footsteps in the hallway, followed by that familiar laugh. It was Luis. He was only 2 years old, but his heart was huge. And in that heart there was a special place for Chris. So how could a baby and a dog become so close? Chris had waited at the front door of the house on the day Luis was born. When his mother came home from the hospital with the baby, Chris quietly approached them, sniffed, then bowed his head. It was as if he said, "Hello, little friend, I will protect you." From that day on, the two were inseparable. Before Luis learned to play, Chris had learned to walk beside him. When Luis laughed, Chris would wag his tail in response. Everything was natural, simple, and part of an indescribable bond. But one day those laughs stopped. Luis had fallen ill. It started with a slight cough, then grew worse as the days passed. The doctors were concerned. His illness may not have been serious, but it would be long. His mother cried, his father was silent. But Chris, he just waited at the door. Every morning he would come to the door of the room and scratch gently with his little paws. If allowed in, he would enter, sit by the bed, and place his nose on Luis's hand. So what was Chris feeling at those moments? Can a dog truly understand the pain of his human friend? Chris seemed to understand. If Luis was in pain, Chris's tail would droop. If Luis's face smiled, Chris's eyes would sparkle and he would snore softly, resting his nose on the pillow. The doctors said, Luis's morale is very important. Talk to him, give him hope. But sometimes no words can be as powerful as the silent presence of a friend. Chris knew this. When no one entered Luis's room, Chris would quietly slip in and curl up at the edge of the bed. When Luis closed his eyes, Chris was on guard. A dog was protecting a little boy's heart. As the days passed, the atmosphere in the house changed. Luis now wanted to hear the birds singing outside. "Can I see Chris?" he asked one morning. His mother wiped her tears and nodded. The door opened, and Chris came in. At that moment, a smile appeared on Luis's face for the first time in months. Chris slowly approached the bed and rested her head on Luis's chest. Their heartbeats merged. In that silent moment, two hearts had started a miracle. So does love really heal? Perhaps there was something there that medicine couldn't explain. Days later, Luis began to get up. Chris walked beside him just like before. With every step, another miracle happened. The doctor was astonished. "We didn't expect him to recover so quickly," he said. His mother just smiled. Because she knew. Love played a part in this recovery. The part of a dog's patience, loyalty, and silent sacrifice. Chris was reborn with every laugh from Luis. He was no longer just a pet but a brother. They played games together, built castles out of pillows, and had little escapades in the kitchen. Everything was beautiful again. But the scars of those difficult days had taken the bond between them to a whole new level. One day, Luis drew a picture with his pastel crayons. In the picture was himself, with Chris beside him. He wrote underneath, "Chris healed my heart." His mother cried when she saw the note. Chris just wagged his tail. Maybe he didn't understand the note, but he felt it. Because he was already a friend who knew how to read hearts. So do miracles really only come from the sky? Or do they sometimes come from a four-legged heart? Chris still lives in that house. Luis has grown up now and goes to school. But every morning when he leaves the house, a hand always strokes Chris's head. And a voice whispers, "If I'm healed, it's because of you." Maybe real heroes don't speak. They just love, wait, and never give up. Chris and Luis's story is not just about the friendship between a child and a dog. It is a story of silent sacrifice, unconditional love, and hearts that believe in miracles. Because sometimes a dog is not just a friend. It is hope. For nearly 1,000 silent days, Ranger sat in